order. This is the October 14th, 2020
Recording in progress.
meeting of the City of Monterey's Planning Commission, and welcome everybody. We will start off with roll call.
Sure. Chair Silva will be absent today, so serving as our chair, we have our Vice Chair Latassa.
Here.
Commissioner Bluth.
Here.
Commissioner Brassfield. Commissioner Dawson.
Here.
And Commissioner Freeman.
Here.
I can go ahead and announce staff members present. Today we have our planning manager, Levi Hill, and myself, recording secretary, Erica Cabrera. And information on participating in this meeting and providing public comment, including remotely by Zoom or telephone, is on this meeting's agenda, which is online at monterey.gov/agendas. Remote commenters will be muted until it's their turn to speak, and a timer will be shown on the screen. If you're connected on Zoom, the timer is accurate with no delay. In the chamber, we recommend keeping phones and devices muted to prevent audio interference with the meeting. Thank you for participating in your city government.
Okay, thank you, Erica. So the first item on this afternoon's agenda is the consent agenda, and there's one item, the approval of the minutes from the September 23rd, 25 minutes. Are there any comments or motions?
We will need to check for public comment on the consent agenda as well.
Okay. I mean, are there any comments from the Plan Commission?
No.
Okay. Is there anybody in the public, either in the chambers or online, who'd like to speak on this item?
There are no hands raised.
Okay, we'll bring it back to the commission for a motion. Great. Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second, and we'll do a roll call.
Sure.
To the vote on that.
Vice Chair Latassa.
Yes.
Commissioner Bluth.
Yes.
Commissioner Brassfield.
Yes.
Commissioner Dawson. Okay, noted. And Commissioner Freeman. Yes. Okay, the minutes have been approved.
Okay, thanks, Erica. So next item are general public comments. If anybody would like to address the commission about an item not on this afternoon's agenda, please come forward. Or if there's anybody online.
I see 2 attendees online, however, there are no hands raised.
Okay. So no public comments, general public comments. So we'll go right into the public hearing. So the first item on the public hearing is the recommendation approval of amendments to Chapter 38 of the Monterey City Code to establish regulations and development standards for firearms and ammunition retail sales uses and amending the home occupation permit procedures. So we'll start off with a staff report.
Yes, thank you, Vice Chair Latassa. As the Vice Chair mentioned, tonight's item is going to be for a zoning amendment, specifically establishing regulations and development standards for firearms and ammunition retail sales citywide, and then also as regulated under a home occupation permit. So we'll get into the specifics. So the staff recommendation is that the Planning Commission hold a public hearing and adopt a resolution recommending the City Council amend the zoning code to establish the regulations and development standards for firearms and ammunition retail sales and amending the home occupation permit procedures. A little bit of background on this proposed amendment. So on February 18th, 2025, the City Council adopted an urgency ordinance, and that ordinance suspended the establishment and operation of new firearms and ammunition retail sales businesses everywhere in the city. City Council extended that suspension through an additional ordinance for an additional 10 months on April 1st of 2025. Prior to that urgency ordinance, firearms and ammunition sales and uses were regulated as general retail sales, and that there were no specific regulations that apply specifically to firearms and ammunition businesses. So they were treated just like any other sales or retail business prior to these urgency ordinances. And so during the time of that urgency ordinance, staff was working on preparing a proposed amendment that would address the concerns that council voiced at those meetings. And so we have before you tonight or this afternoon the proposed amendments, which is to would effectively prohibit firearms and ammunition sales except for sites located in the IR district, and that is our Industrial Administration Research District. And the IR, within the IR zone, there would still be additional requirements for new firearms and ammunition uses, specifically the firearms businesses that would have the retail sales of firearms would still require the approval of a use permit, which, as you're all aware, would come before this body before it'd be approved and able to operate. Ammunition sales, however, would be allowed as a principally permitted use in the IR district. And subject to the setback requirements, which is 600 feet from schools, daycares, playground, residential zone, multifamily overlay zone, store that sells liquor, a bar, or other firearm or ammunition retailers, or a cannabis business. So those are the specific requirements for the IR district. And as I said earlier, it would be prohibited everywhere else in the city. So we do have some existing businesses that operate in the world of firearms and ammunition sales. And this ordinance would impact some of those businesses to a degree. So these two businesses shown on this slide are the two businesses in the city that procure or operate in the world of retail sales for firearms. And that is JC Firearms located at Toots Court. And then also L&B Firearms at 301 Ocean Avenue, which is, as we understand, is not currently operating. It's a newer business, but they do have the proper licenses through the city and a business license. So both of these firearms establishments would be rendered legal nonconforming for different reasons. JC Firearms is actually located in the IR district. That's Harris Court and Ryan Ranch. However, it is within 600 feet of a daycare. So it would be still rendered nonconforming. However, they would be allowed to continue to operate under that nonconforming status. And then L&B Firearms is rendered legal nonconforming from this ordinance as well, due to them being located outside of the IR zone, but also being rendered nonconforming and allowed to continue to operate. However, the ordinance would amortize the use for a 3-year period, and they would be required to cease operation after that 3-year period. Additionally, there are two existing businesses in the city that operate with ammunition retail sales, and that's Big Five, located at 2259 North Fremont Street, and then also Gallagher Ammunition Sales, which is a home occupation permit ammunition sales business located at 871 Alice Street. So these businesses would also both be rendered legal nonconforming for the reasons noted on this slide. For Big Five, it's located on the outside of the IR zone. That site is actually in the North Fremont specific plan, so it's zone PC. They would be allowed to continue to operate under their non-conforming status. And then Gallagher Ammunition Sales is also located outside of the IR zone and would be rendered legal non-conforming, allowed to continue to operate at that address only. And then the changes proposed in the ordinance would effectively not allow home occupation permits or new home occupation permits that operate with the retail sales of firearms or ammunition. So this would be the only one in the city. And with that, staff recommends that the Planning Commission hold a public hearing and adopt a resolution recommending the City Council amend the zoning code to establish regulations and development standards for firearms and ammunition retail sales, and amending the home occupation permit procedures as noted in the draft ordinance in your packet. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thanks, Levi.
Sure.
Yes, go ahead.
That came as a recommendation through our consultation with the police department, and that was added after their feedback was provided to staff. I think it was in line with the alcohol use sales and bars that were also being. Sure.
Any other questions of staff? Mike?
Use an example of this in your narrative. It's a burglary with theft of firearms. But you're arguing in use of that example against a commercial site, not a residential site, correct?
I'm not sure I follow.
Well, you use the example in our handout. And
Which example are you?
you use an example where a theft of firearms.
Oh, okay, that's stuff.
But it pertains to a commercial where you're going to be putting firearms. I don't understand the nexus to connecting the two in that regard.
Sure. So I think whenever this was before council earlier in the year and hearing from the feedback from our police department, that was noted as potential higher risk for these types of theft or security concerns dealing with these businesses.
That's all the question.
Okay, thanks, Mike. Any other questions of staff?
The two businesses that we had on the second slide, the one on the residential area, those also have to close within a 3-year time frame?
They're not required to close in that 3-year time period, just the one on 301 Ocean.
If I could just add for Commissioner Brastfield's question, the reference to the theft also ties into the location restrictions, the restrictions of not allowing someone 21, a minor allowed in there without a parent or another adult. But those are all the regulatory ordinances that are not before this board for consideration. But anyway, that's also why that finding is in there.
Okay, Mike. Yeah, go, another bite for Mike.
Utility, that would be outlaw.
We're not outlining buying ammunition. Ammunition will be principally permitted in the IR zones, and the existing ammunition retailers will be allowed to continue operations as legal non-conforming. No, this is just going into a store. So we're not going to allow minors to go into a store without a parent, where the only function of that store is to sell firearms. Anyway, that's in the regulatory changes, not the zoning code changes. But I was just trying to provide more context for Commissioner Brasfield on why are we referencing this incident in Salinas in 2024.
Okay, any other questions of staff? Okay, seeing none, we'll proceed to the public comments. Is there anybody in the chamber who would like to address the commission on this item? Okay, and is there anybody online who would like to speak?
Sure, there is one hand raised. I can go ahead and allow Colin to speak.
Okay. My name is Colin Gallagher, and I am I could say the owner and manager of Gallagher Ammunition. And just for the commissioner's benefit, in the context of my particular store, it's 100% online store, and so there is nothing physically that is there that is present. Anything that could potentially be sold is in essence in some other state in a warehouse somewhere, and is subject to the laws of California in terms of how that online order is processed, and then might eventually arrive following an order, would then have to be picked up, as is typical under California laws, by a person, by a customer at an FFL or separately at an ammunition vendor, but not at my location. So in other words, a person who might do an actual ammunition sale, or who might complete a purchase of ammunition, actually using the proper term here, they would go online, they would buy something, they would have to actually pick it up. But typically what would happen is they would select an FFL, and then they would complete their process that way. Then I would confirm that the FFL is actually a valid FFL. Then the order would complete. Then it would go to the FFL. Then they would go there physically to pick it up. So that's kind of the online multi-step process. For a person who has an FFL, like the person at Ocean, once they open, they might have their own stock. They might be able to sell directly there, or they might order it in, and then do the background check for the person at the location, the ammo background check as it is, and then sell it to the person in terms of that ammo process. So it depends on how they want to do it or how much stock they want to hold there, because nobody likes to have too much on hand, but you might want to have something if you're an FFL. So that's kind of the process there. One comment I want to make here is that I sent you guys an email about this a little earlier today, but I don't think that this idea of having a prohibitive policy that restricts who can or who cannot have a license in the future is a good idea. It's an example of Monterey's ongoing restrictive policies that are anti-business in a nutshell. I know Monterey has had this ongoing problem with income and revenue, and it just is an ongoing issue. This is just one example, and so in the end, I don't think you should amortize as the word has been applied here, that business on Ocean.
Okay. Appreciate your time.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gallagher. Okay, are there any other comments online?
There are no other hands raised.
Okay, great. So we'll bring it back to the commission for deliberation and a motion. Mike, you want to start?
Okay. First of all, it's a very controversial topic in California right now, what we're doing. I have experience with a lot of burglaries, which we're not going to stop because it's people trying to make money. So we're not going to stop it, no matter where you're at, in a residence or in a commercial area. I have made these kind of purchases through people in their homes. Most of them vet you before you get there. You talk to them, they ask, who do you know, that they can get an idea of if you're, let me just say what part of society you realm in. Right now, I don't think I'll live to see it, but the Supreme Court made it pretty clear that our rights as gun owners to purchase them. And I see that government is still, I don't take any objection to people trying to make our society safe. And that's what I see our council doing here. But I just suggest to you that you have people out there trying to make a living, and once again, we're taking away of making a living from somebody who may be retired and needs that extra income to even maintain their home. And I just don't see the need for it. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
It would be nice to see in a visual sense where the allowed locations would be. I'm just curious, maybe for a future date, if you have the opportunity, because I can't really tell how confined of an area it is when you start to add the limitations to schools, different businesses, and stuff like that.
Sure, and I can weigh in on that to some extent. So the IR zones in the city consist of those areas on both sides of Garden Road. There's a small set of properties on Highway 68 past Garden Road, and then there's the Ryan Ranch IR district. So that's the extent of the IR district. Now, there's restrictions of 600 feet from the multifamily overlay. So that pretty much excludes the portion along Garden Road, because the entire south side of Garden Road is within a multifamily residential overlay. And that street is obviously not 600 feet wide. So practically speaking, most of that area is probably not going to be allowed. So that leaves you with those properties, the subset of properties on Highway 68 past Garden Road, and then the area of Ryan Ranch, the Harris Core area. But as noted, one of those facilities is already going to be rendered non-conforming because of one of those exclusionary uses, like a daycare. So those types of uses could be established in the meantime that could also impact one of these businesses' ability to operate.
Did you ever look at some of the industrial areas like past Casa Verde, where there's a lot of workshops or cars and light industrial? It would seem that would be an advantageous area for a business as well.
Yeah, I believe all those are in our heavier commercial zones and our industrially zoned.
Okay. Mike.
For the life of me, I don't see why the restrictions. It's not like you're going to buy a gun and then go shoot up a daycare. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense to me. So I'm going to have to vote against this.
I think it's to keep the kids from buying guns. No, just kidding. Sure. Sandy, you have any?
I don't have a comment.
Okay. Well, so I guess I'm in favor of the item. It seems like I know it was controversial, but it seems like a sort of a gap in the ordinance that haven't addressed an important safety issue in the city. So it doesn't seem like a big deal. I don't think we're going to be going to the Supreme Court on this one, but so I'm going to be supporting the item. So can I hear a motion from anybody?
Sure. I move to recommend approval of amendments to Chapter 38 of the Monterey City Code to establish regulations and development standards for firearms and ammunition, retail sales uses, and amending the home occupation permit procedures.
Okay, thanks, Andy. Can I hear a second?
I'll second.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second. Should we have a roll call, Erica?
Sure. Vice Chair Latassa?
Yes.
Commissioner Bluth?
Yes.
Commissioner Brassfield?
No.
Okay. Commissioner Dawson? No. And Commissioner Freeman?
Yeah.
Okay, looks like that carries with a vote of 3.
Thank you. Thanks for coming in. Yeah, you too. Thanks.
Appreciate you.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. You too. Or you get paid for it. Okay, so the next item is the recommending denial of amendments to Chapter 38 of the Monterey City Code to increase the number of storefront retail cannabis businesses allowed in the CB2 cannabis business overlay district. And we will start off with staff report.
Sure. So informal report for this item is as noted in the agenda packet. Subsequent to noticing this item, the applicant had requested that the item be tabled, so there could be further analysis to be done on the staff's part and for them to provide a little bit of additional information prior to the commission considering the amendment. But as the vice chair mentioned, the item is generally a zoning amendment request to increase the number of allowed cannabis retail storefront operations in the CB2 overlay, which is the downtown overlay. But yes, at this point in time, staff's recommending that the item be tabled for a future meeting.
Okay. But we still will go through the process of the public hearing.
Correct.
Are we still staff?
Yeah.
What do you think? Reach that 1%.
Yeah, I think it'll be coming in probably the next 2 months. There's still we're still in the midst of the implementation of the original cannabis ordinance and that whole process. So I think the applicant is waiting to see how that plays out before it comes before this commission.
Sandy, Mike, any questions?
Is CB2 Alvarado Street?
It would include the Alvarado Street area. However, I believe retail storefronts are actually prohibited to front on Alvarado, but it is that general area.
And North Fremont and Lighthouse, are they also CB2?
They're not CB2. So it would just, those are the other cannabis overlay areas. So the to is specifically just the downtown Monterey area.
I didn't, Lee, I didn't see anything in the report about who the applicant was. Is that not divulged at this point?
No, it is. It's just not. It's just I think it's just not left out of the title, but it was one of our retailers that had applied to the process. I believe either Embark is the entity name. But yeah, Embark.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So we'll ask the public. Is there anyone in the public who would like to speak on this item? Chambers are empty, so is there anybody online?
There is one attendee online, however, their hand is not raised, but if you are joining by telephone, dial *9 to raise your hand and *6 to unmute. And there's still no hands raised.
So we'll bring it back to the commission for a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Okay.
We must vote.
Okay, so a motion to table. Anybody have a second? Okay, we have the two mics. We're moving forward with motions here. So we have a motion and a second. Any other comments? So we'll ask Erica for a roll call.
Sure. Vice Chair Latassa?
Yes.
Commissioner Bluth?
Yes.
Commissioner Brassfield?
Yes.
Commissioner Dawson?
Yes.
And Commissioner Freeman?
Yes.
Okay, that item has been tabled.
So then we'll move on to commissioner comments.
You know, we've been talking a lot about garden mold, and I'm wondering what the possibility is for us to look at a specific plan for that. We make a request to initiate that.
Let me discuss that. So we typically, so our work program is established by the City Council, and that's an annual work program. So I think it'd probably be best to be brought up around the time. I think they establish that typically starts with the fiscal year. So I think I would recommend bringing it up to the City Council at that time.
What time is that? What in hell?
It tracks with the fiscal year, so I think they usually establish the work program in the spring, whenever that's being discussed. July. Yeah, so they usually try to line it up with the funding that's going to be available for that fiscal year.
Something we just do the public comment.
You can do that public comment, or if you have conversations with a particular council member, you can also initiate it that way.
We've noted a lot of things that would come out of that. We don't have a grocery store that in, so when the state is focusing on is how many trips people have to make. And I would suggest to you that that's a big one. Nobody in that whole part of the city can go to a grocery store without getting into a car or a bus and going for quite a distance. Would that be included in that discussion, the fact that we need services of that?
If when you say discussion, you mean like for the establishment of the specific plan itself, it would be, so that would be something that would be studied. A lot of that is based on market analysis, so it's kind of one of those things. I think the specific plan would establish a set of uses that would be appropriate for the area, perhaps some locations that are more inclined to support uses than other locations. And so that's what will come out of the specific plan itself, is making those opportunities available. Obviously, I think it's definitely something important to look at as we rezone a lot of that area to support the development of housing opportunities. It's important to look at the uses that support those residents as well.
I think there's not much sharing between the county and the city regarding the intent of the county to increase the population out there.
So the county has done actually an excellent job of keeping us informed as they work. They're still working through their housing element, and specifically the area of Tarpey Flats that is in their housing element. They have been meeting with us periodically as that kind of evolves to the adoption of their housing element. But that is definitely something that we're looking at and anticipating a certain volume of development happening right outside the city limits, and how that's going to impact our services.
It's taking place.
It is.
Okay, thanks.
Sure. Sandy? Mike? Commissioner comments?
I was on my way to the NCIP City Council meeting last night. Got caught in the deluge. so did not go. Could you give us some information about the outcome?
I have not been fully briefed on that meeting either. And I'll admit I was watching the Dodgers baseball game instead of that. So,
Well, you had your priorities.
I didn't have anything on that agenda, so I took that opportunity to put my eyes elsewhere.
Okay, all right, fair enough. You should go watch the video. Thank you.
Good point. How where did you live 3 minutes away from here? Was there a title?
The sandbar with my little granddaughter and my
Oh,
son,
okay.
and we finished dinner and walked out, and it was like, oh my God, this is a soaker.
Yeah, it was kind of
A
dramatic.
belly washer.
You're telling us that you gave up the experience. For all this.
I was wondering, last meeting you mentioned going to Monterey one open house. Did you actually go?
Yes,
How was it?
it was really interesting. It was a tour of the water facility for irrigation.
Yeah.
It's a pretty impressive.
Where is it?
It's out near the police stop.
Oh, okay. I meant to go. I wasn't here, so I missed such an opportunity. Okay. Planning office update.
So, as noted in the packet, we do have one item that's tentatively scheduled for our October 28th meeting, and I believe we may actually have a second item that's going to be added there as well. But the one that's noted in the report is a wireless application. But I think we may have another residential referral item that may be on the agenda as well. And then also wanted to, we were going to check for quorum. Erica, do you recall which meeting we were going to check? Okay, yes. I believe this is, but it's the week of Thanksgiving, I believe. So we wanted to go ahead and check to see if anyone was going to see the head shaking already. But
Most important to some of us is, how are the interviews going?
Yes, I was just
oh, well, that's a good question for our mayor. I have not been brought up to speed on that. But the larger question is, what's the time frame for the consolidation? And I think that's coming in the next couple of months. I think we're going to reach a point where that's going to be completed, so the ARC and Planning Commission consolidation. But until then, I've not been told of any placements on either committee or commission. So we haven't been informed of any.
you could retire by the end of the year. Well, I know, but I mean, you stepped forward to help us in our need, and so maybe
It's still on the letterhead here.
Yeah.
We appreciate it. So remind me, where are the next meetings?
So we have October 28th.
Yeah.
So we think we're going to have, are those present going to be available for that meeting?
I'm available.
Okay. So it looks like we'll have a quorum for the 28th. Then we have November 11th. It's Veterans Day.
I'll be gone.
November 12th is Tuesday.
I'll be visiting my children.
So November 12th, not 11th.
The 11th is a Tuesday, but I'm hearing that that's a holiday, so we would end up canceling that meeting, which consists to our November 25th meeting, which is the week of Thanksgiving, so that would be the Tuesday before Thanksgiving. So
I heard that the council is asking for an update on.
It's gone.
Would they make some changes?
before we move on, can we get a head count for who would be available on November 25th? That's a Tuesday before Thanksgiving. So okay, looks like everyone. Okay, thank you. And then
Are you?
So November 11th. What holiday is it on Tuesday? Was it
Veterans Day.
Okay, Ammunition Day.
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, that's right. Yes, that's right. Okay, so I think that's it. The meeting is adjourned.